we're in Siman Bet. We finished Halacha Aleph, Bet, Gimel. I remember we did that. I think we're on page 28, but someone tell, or maybe more.
I think 29.
29 even.
I think we're on 12.
Yeah, you're right. We did 28 also. Okay, maybe a fast review. If you'll walk with me through the pages. On page 22. Siman Bet Halacha Aleph. Maran tells us that a person should not get dressed sitting down underneath their sheets. Tell me why.
Expose parts of the body that are normally covered.
So when they get out of bed, they're already covered. They don't expose parts of their body that are usually covered. This is, we said, was a halacha, or it's a very strongly recommended situation?
It's halacha. It says it right here.
It was a halacha.
Not sure I remember.
Look at the third paragraph in the halacha bara. Third paragraph. Someone tell me what you wrote. Umikol makom. You see that?
Why is it suggested?
Mimidat chasidut.
This is a very strongly suggested idea. But what if a person doesn't do it? So they're not violating halacha. But this is a special level of piety when it comes to tzniut. That when you get out of bed, you should already be dressed at least minimally. Then, on page 23, we went through some of the long stuff here. 24. Maran says a person should not say that that I am in rooms inside of rooms. Who sees me here? Obviously, that's part of Yirat Shamayim. The Kadosh Baruch Hu sees you wherever you are. Wherever we are, Kadosh Baruch Hu sees us, and therefore it requires from us a certain level of tzniut. We mentioned here about not taking the clothing from somebody who didn't wash their hands yet. You remember this entire piece? We didn't have so much clarity there. Top 25. Maran says again, a person should be careful when they get dressed. They should not wear their clothing inside out. Very nice. Inside out. And we said this thing is called kashe leshikha. It is hard for remembering things. It causes a person to be forgetful. This is an inyan of Gemara, and therefore we try to always, whenever possible, to wear our clothing the right side. Someone here asked about a reversible sweater. A reversible sweater, the whole purpose of it is that it doesn't have a wrong side. Yeah, so both of those sides, it's a good question, but both of those sides would be okay. We again mentioned you shouldn't sleep on top of your clothing. You shouldn't use it as a pillow, rather you could put it underneath your pillow, but you shouldn't use it instead of the pillow. Page 26. The halachot of tying our shoes. Someone tell me what the order is.
Remember this?
First you put on
Say
the
slowly.
right shoe.
You put on the right shoe, then the left shoe, then
Tie the left shoe.
tie the left shoe,
Tie the right shoe.
and then the right shoe.
Now what about when you take them off?
We take them off. Did we do that already?
Yeah, that's the next.
Yes, that was the next. We'll get there in just a moment. We're on page 28. We mentioned that you put on the right, and then you put on the left. Tie the left, and then you tie the right. Yeah. You put on cool 71. Just press it a few times. It'll adjust as cool 71. Thank you. So we then spoke at the bottom of 27. What do you do if you're a righty, lefty, right foot, left foot? Oh, okay. Someone who wants to can go look at these things in depth. 28. When you take off your shoes, though, you do the other way around. You take off your shoes, you take off the left shoe, and then you take off the right shoe. Why do we do that? Not all at once.
Well, we take off the left shoe and untie at the same time. You untie and you remove the left shoe, then untie and then remove the right shoe, or you don't do the.
No, first you untie the right shoe, then you untie the left shoe.
Okay, and then off goes the left shoe.
And then off goes the left shoe, then off goes the right shoe. Someone tell me why.
To give deference to the right.
Explain.
Right shoe.
You're giving kavod to the right shoe. Well, how?
You want to keep it on longer.
Well, you want to keep it on longer. And therefore we switch the seder, we switch the order around, and we take off the right shoe second in this situation. Now anything in the world that has tying, that's what Halakha Chet says here. Socks, there are people who have socks with laces. I've never seen such a thing, but there are in the olden day pictures of people who wore leather socks that you tie up. and then you put them inside of boots. Such things, all things that are tied, says Chacham David, whether you have a right side and a left side, you always have to do the order of putting on the right, then the left, then tie the left and do the right. So if for somehow, we don't, practically, I don't know that we have such clothing.
I know, but like sometimes like I have like these shoes like they sometimes slip onto them like don't add.
This is a good question.
I don't have to always untie and tie.
I remember doing this. I remember having this question also. Sometimes people have tie shoes. They don't always tie. They just slip their foot in and slip their foot out.
Yeah.
So such a situation, would those shoes be considered shoes that are tieable shoes, or are they more like
Slippers.
slip-on shoes? Yeah, they're like slip-on shoes. The halakha of slip-on shoes. What do you do with slip-on shoes? Which one goes on first? Right, left. Do you tie anything? No. So we don't go and make new halachot and say maybe the putting on of the shoe with already tied, and so maybe I should do it second because it's more like tying than it is like putting on the shoe. And we just put on the right shoe, put on the left shoe. The same thing would be true with shoes that are already tied. Yeah, Mekubal, you agree? Tov. We are now on the top of page 29. You're in for a big piece of halakha here. Not little leagues over here, this is the big leagues. This is perhaps one of the most questioned, debated, discussed Jewish customs. Whether or not you have to wear a kippah. The halakha of covering your head is found right here, smack in Siman Bet. Maran says something. Somehow he says something, and we understand what he says, the exact opposite of what he said, and it's a back and forth. And what does that mean? He said something. How do you understand the opposite of what he said? To which we answer, we're Jews. That's what we always do. Someone says something, we understand the opposite of what they said, and so on and so forth. We're going to discuss these halachot in depth. Maybe if we'll see how it's going. I'm sure that some questions are going to come up regarding kippot, regarding head covering. Once upon a time, I wrote an article in a book, I think I mentioned to you, about covering your head as a kippah. Is it necessary? Is it necessary? Do you have to do it? Do you not have to do it? It's about 6 pages in Hebrew. And I believe that when we finish this section of halachot, we're going to go together and go through here. There's some interesting sources. Something that's good to have in your pocket. You're going to know things about kippot people don't even know exist. And B'ezrat Hashem, we'll get a chance to do that soon. What?
No, figuratively.
Information.
Oh yeah.
People on the head, information.
I did not say, for the record, I did not say your pocket should wear your kippah. I used to have a rabbi said, "Oh, your pocket's going to go to Gan Eden." So, Maran in Seif Vav, page 29, the top of the page. Maran says, "Asur lelech," it is forbidden to walk. Bekoma zkufa. Anyone know what koma zkufa means?
Like
With a straight back.
Straight.
For all the young people in the room. Your mother ever say, sit up straight? I said, no, we learned in Shaar. You're not allowed to sit up straight. Yeah, we're not allowed to because the person shouldn't walk. To which I'm going to tell you, it doesn't say that. It says you cannot walk that way. But to sit that way, you have to listen to your mother.
It also probably hurts.
What does it mean you can't walk bekoma zkufa? Obviously, we're going to discuss it a little bit more.
the koma is like a spine.
Did we do
Back?
29 tet?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll get there in just a minute.
So which one is straight, which one is...
Bekoma means
heights.
yeah, like a height of skufa, straight. It's a more of an expression than it is a translatable word. Meaning your back,
Level, height.
yeah, like on a straight level. Your back shouldn't be straight when you walk. What does it mean? Your back shouldn't be straight.
Skufa is straight.
Skufa is straight. Koma, like you're right now on the second koma of the building. The second level of the building.
Like the floor.
Like going up straight, rising up straight.
When you say in the mornings, Zokef Kifufim, in the blessings, that Hashem straightens up those who are bent over. Oh, see, Hashem doesn't know how to read Shulchan Aruch, probably. Because why would He straighten them up if they're supposed to be bent over?
No, the ones that were bent too far.
Oh, the one saying something right. You have to know. It's not. I mean, there must be a definition of what does it mean. B'komas kufa, you're supposed to walk down bent over all day long. But before we get into the details, why is it that a person should not walk straight up?
Symbolizes arrogance?
Very nice. Spot on. It symbolizes arrogance. You know, they say, what do you call a snobbish person? Somebody whose nose is up in the air, right? Mm-hmm. He's like this. Why like that? What's that approach when someone walks like that? What is it telling you about them? I'm above, and I don't see anybody below me. I don't see anybody beneath me. I don't see anybody around me. And therefore Maran says, number one halakha, being Jewish, you're not allowed to walk that way. A Jew, it's not just walking, it's also acting that way. A Jew is not allowed to walk or act b'komas kufa, in a way where he's looking down on other people, where he's feeling more arrogant than other people. It's forbidden against halakha. And the person, sometimes I think that some of these halachot.
No, it doesn't say in the Haggadah, שיצאו ממצרים בזרוע נטויה ומקום.
Oh, yeah, very nice. Chacham Yitzchak is asking us, we find in the Haggadah, the Jewish people left Egypt, b'komas kufa, with a straight back. That's exactly what you're not allowed to do.
But their backs were so bent over from sleeping.
So you can answer like Doan. Doan seems to be consistent in his line of reasoning, and you're going to find it's going to help you soon. But that is, they were too bent over, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu straightened them up. But Pashtut, like everything else in the world, it says that a person is not az panim legehenam. A person who has a brazen face, he's chutzpan, he's going to go straight to Gehenam. Yet in other places, it demands from us, have az kenamer. You have to be az. You have to have brazen, like a. It's the first halakha we had here.
A tiger.
Like a leopard, like a tiger, like a panther. However you wanted to translate namer, like a namer. Should be brazen like that. What do you mean az? So the question obviously is: are you supposed to be brazen or not?
There's a time and place for everything.
There's a Shlomo HaMelech says, Kol zman vayetach HaShamayim. Everything has a time. Et lehov, et lisno, et milchama, et shalom. There's a time for everything, a time and a place for everything. There's a time of peace, there's a time of war, there's a time of hatred, there's a time of love. A person has to know, sometimes I need to stand up for what I know is right. When we're leaving Mitzrayim, that's the time. Jewish people are saying, I'm picking up my back straight. I'm showing the Egyptians that HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares about us, I'm walking out of here. But it's not the way that a Jew should live his life every single day. That can actually lead to all other problems. And therefore, Maran is telling us a person should not go bekoma zekufa. So, let's continue. Then Maran says, Lo yelech, a person should not walk. Lo, should not. Yelech, walk. Arba amot, 4 amot, or in biblical Hebrew, cubits. Like that helps you more than amot. Begilui harosh, with a revealed head, with an uncovered head. What is an amma? Do you know?
18 inches.
So we say about 18 inches. It's from your finger until your elbow. I think in most yeshivas they tell you it's pretty much one of the roof tiles. One of the roof tiles should be about 18 inches. I don't know, I didn't measure.
About 18 inches.
Yeah. So a person cannot walk 4 of these without
A covered head.
a covered head. Without a covered head. Oh, that's actually a good question. We're going to talk about that. What is a kippah? What is not a kippah? But so far we know that it's forbidden to walk with a straight back, and a person should not walk with his head uncovered. I want you to use your Gemara heads. Turn them on for a second. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you listening?
I'm listening.
What's the difference between the first thing Maran says and the second thing? Look at his language.
Oh, one is asur and one is
Asur lo yilech.
You see, one is asur, one says forbidden to walk with a komas kufa, and the second one just says
Lo yilech.
don't do it.
lo yilech. You should not. Right? You should not do it.
It's more suggestive.
I think it's more important.
Go back to page
Lo
22.
yilbah.
Go back to page 22. What language does Maran use? We just said it was suggested. What language does Maran use?
Lo yilbah.
Lo yilbash. which means you should not get dressed once you're out of bed. Rather, you should get dressed while you're in bed. Is this obligatory? No. This is highly recommended. So if you were to use your Gemara head and translate this over to page 29, what would you tell me the difference between walking straight and covering your head with a kippah is?
You can't do this. You can't walk in this fashion.
Definitely forbidden to walk with a kumas kufa.
But it's highly suggested that you shouldn't walk for a month without a head cover.
It's highly suggested to cover your hair. Now, this is not talking about tefillah. When you pray, when you eat, when you make brachot, then everyone would agree that you must cover your head. That's yadua. The question is, if I'm walking just around my everyday life, do I have to cover my head or not? Most rabbis don't like to teach people this section of Shulchan Aruch. Because it goes against a certain agenda that we have in the Jewish community. And that is, how do you know if a person's religious? What's the telltale signs? He wears a kippah. He's even more religious if he's wearing tzitzit. And?
Hats, black clothes.
Right, probably if he looks like he's mourning, then probably even better, right? Something like that.
Beards.
Something like that. We've taken something which technically, from the way we're reading right now the Shulchan Aruch, it doesn't seem like it's the basis of our religion. It's to wear a kippah. It doesn't seem like it's the basis of our religion. Now I'm asking you not to walk out of here tonight going around saying we don't have to wear kippah, let's throw it away, burn, lag bomb, or bonfire. Like we didn't get there yet. We're going to learn through all these sources. We're going to understand all the things that we have to understand here, like we did to every other halakha. But from here, you should begin to tell, and I mentioned this in one of the first classes we had. The biggest problem of Judaism today is that people don't know how to prioritize what's important and what's not so important. What is it that a person really has to look out for? What pushes off another thing? And sometimes the kippah has taken such precedence over other things, it makes you wonder how misguided or how off track we are from what it is that the Shulchan Aruch is telling us. I wear a kippah, I'll tell you, not just when I'm awake, also when I'm sleeping, also if I could shower in it, I would shower in my kippah. I don't like to ever get out of my kippah.
Shower.
But that's okay. I don't actually shower. Don't go home and shower in your kippah.
The items become more important than מהמהות, הסימנים נעשו יותר חשובים.
Maran is saying you cannot be arrogant. You cannot be arrogant. That's forbidden. You should cover your hair with a kippah. Suddenly becoming arrogant, it's okay, he's working himself. That's all right. But somebody doesn't wear a kippah, we can't count him as a minyan, he's not Jewish, not from our community, we don't marry his kids, we don't eat his food, whatever it is that you do. Right? Let me tell you, I'll tell you the truth. I don't know if anyone has ever met Syrian Jews. Have you ever met the Syrian Jewish community? Yeah, you met. I hope only good stories, because sometimes... No, I have a good story, Baruch Hashem.
You have good stories?
The Syrians, it's an interesting community in the fact that it never really assimilated into American Judaism. Rather, it kind of came from Syria and stayed the way it was in Syria. Just the names changed. Everyone today is a Henry and a Raymond and all. They got English names, and nobody uses them anymore. But they have English names instead of other names they had in Syria. Okay. In their community, until fairly recently, the only people who wore kippot were the rabbis. Rabbis wore kippot. Other people, you're talking about people who pray 3 times a day in a minyan. They only eat kosher of the highest level. But kippot, they don't wear kippot. They don't wear kippot. Recently, because of the yeshivot, and people go to yeshiva, they meet other people, Ashkenazim, Sephardim, they also wear kippot. And so it's already become normal in the Syrian community to wear a kippah. But that wasn't until maybe 30 years ago they started wearing kippot. Maybe.
Not all of them yet.
And still, not all of them.
Not all of them.
I have a friend.
Syrian and Lebanese also.
Right. Same region. They don't like to tell you that, but the same region. I was in yeshiva with a Syrian Talmid Chacham. Somebody was a up-and-coming Torah scholar in yeshiva. I went to go visit his family once, and he said, "You can eat everything in my house." I believe him. I don't ask questions. Someone says, "Kasher, kasher." I came in. His father comes to the table, now wearing kippah. I said, "David, who's this guy sitting at the table?" He says, "My dad." I said, "Your dad's not wearing a kippah?" We don't wear kippot. We don't wear kippot. Can I eat at your house or can I not eat at your house? And right before they serve the food, he pulls a kippah out of his pocket, puts it on his head, Baruch atah Hashem, and makes a bracha. And it blew my mind, because most people that I know whose kippot come out of their pocket, so they don't know how to make brachot so well. But this was a person who clearly knew. He's sitting at the table, he told us about Torah, things like that, what class he goes to. What is, you don't wear kippot? Syrians don't wear kippot. But not just Syrians. I don't know if anyone is familiar with the German Jewish community. They call them yekes. I don't know. Some Germans they like to be called yekes. Other ones find it highly offensive. So I don't know. You have to ask someone who's German whether they appreciate being called a yeke or not. But they have a community in Washington Heights, New York. Breuer's is the name of their synagogue. Most of you eat food with a hechsher from there. If you ever bought an Empire chicken, you'll see on it says K-A-J in a rectangle. That stands for Kahal Adat Yeshurun, not the one from here, the one from there. They have a very, very, very strict hechsher for meat and chicken. And most people, that's what they eat when it comes to chickens. In San Diego, a lot of our meat comes from there. In their community, only the rabbis wear kippot. Your average Jew on the street didn't wear a kippah. In the German Jewish community, a kippah was not a symbol of whether or not you're Torah observant. And there are a number of communities we can go through that had similar background. Only recently, when they opened up a yeshiva and they got assimilated with the more Lithuanian elements in Jewry, they started wearing kippot. During prayers, everyone had a kippah, and the rest of the time they didn't. What I'm trying to put into perspective here is not everyone that you see without a kippah is not religious. It's not always true. And whereas I am a big advocate for a kippah, and we're going to see in the halachot why, we have to be very fair about how required is this custom. I once asked my rabbi in Yerushalayim about having classes in San Diego. What I should expect, what I'm supposed to demand, what I could look away, what could I ignore. And he said, I'm going to lay down the groundwork for you. People come to a Torah class, you do not need to make them wear kippot. When they pray, that's something else. When they're studying, look, he's gonna keep them on your heads. Keep them on your heads. So this.
My hat's off to you.
Oh. Welcome back, by the way.
Are you Syrian or
The second, he said, I don't mind if the husbands, wives, the couples, they're sitting together and they're not separated in a different room, wearing burqas. Soon you're going to come to places you're going to see that's what the Jewish community is going to look like.
Yeah, I went.
He says, but I'll tell you, the moment people start speaking in the bulpeh, they curse, they use foul language, they speak about inappropriate things. So close the Beit Knesset and leave. Close the Beit Knesset and leave. And that might have sounded pretty extreme when he told us that in the yeshiva. He said, you don't understand what you have to put into priority. What is the priority? If they're coming to the shul, they're learning Torah, they're growing spiritually, they're not wearing kippot, they're sitting with their wife. Big deal, these are not big deals. But if they're coming to the shul, in front of the rabbi, they're going to speak about all kinds of inappropriate things. Then you know that the whole thing is mekukan from the yisod. The whole thing is not appropriate from its root. So you don't need to be there. You don't need to be there. And when I heard this, obviously my rabbi, we come to class, we come with kippot. We don't bring girls to the class in yeshiva. Right? We didn't do things like that. But the idea was you have to teach people to look at the world with the lens of priorities. What's important and what's not so important. What's important and what's not so important. It's halachot. People, they get swayed by their heart very easily. It doesn't feel right that we should be somewhere. I don't care if it doesn't feel right. I was having a discussion with my wife. If the whole Torah was based on how it feels, let me ask you a question. We just passed Pesach. I know you thought you would never hear the laws of Pesach from me again. Yeah. What happens if you have one matzah for the seder? One matzah for the seder.
It's not enough.
You go to take it to the seder. It's before Pesach. You go take it to the seder, and you realize, you don't buy matzot in boxes. Who buys matzot in boxes? You go to the bakery and pick up matzot. You put it in a plastic bag, and somebody was packing your bag, and they took a hot loaf of challah and they put it in the bag also. And now what's the problem? The challah is stuck to your matzah. It's stuck to your matzah. No, the Shulchan Aruch mentions such a case. What are you supposed to do on the night of the Seder?
People are cooking challah and
Give up. If I tell you,
More fruit salad?
if I tell you what the halakha says, you may not believe it's true.
you separate them and eat.
You separate them, put away the challah, scrape off
Chametz.
any areas of chametz over there from the matzah, and then you take it to the Seder, you say, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, al achilat matzah, and that's what you eat for the Seder. Because halakha doesn't follow what feels right.
May not
Halakha
feel
follows
kosher.
what halakha says a person has to do. But I am positive, if this question was brought up to even rabbis that we know, the answer would be, it's better to skip the matzah. But it's not true that it's better to skip the
Eat the
matzah.
matzah.
Better celebrate
It's not
Pesach.
true that it's better to skip the matzah. And there are other halachot that go into this category. Someone once came to me and said, Rabbi, I don't feel comfortable putting my dishes in the ocean to be tovel, to immerse them in the mikveh. Why? Because there are not kosher animals in the ocean. He said, lobster, shrimp, crabs, I don't know.
What?
And if they don't feel comfortable taking their kosher dishes and putting it in the ocean. I said, but the halakha says you're allowed to do that. I mean, if not, the Kadosh Baruch Hu wouldn't say you're allowed to put it in the ocean. Until I told them it was batel b'shishim. It's nullified in 60. Oh, they're nullified in 60? Okay, we can put our dishes in the ocean. Halachot are not made up by people, by their hearts. Halachot are made up by a clear analysis of the situation at hand, the sources at hand, the customs at hand, and to figure out the halachot from there. So I'm speaking really too much about this. We're going to go into kippah, probably today, tomorrow, even next week. I'm assuming that we'll still be on the topic of kippot. But I'm asking you, it's not just the specific, do I wear a kippah, do I not wear a kippah? It's the whole methodology of halakha that goes behind it. And it's very important that we put our heads together and understand this the way it's meant to be understood, not the way we want it to read. Says the Rama, Haga, I have a note. The Rama has something to add. V'chaseh kol gufo, a person should always cover his entire body. V'lo yelech yachef, and he should not walk barefoot. In Shulchan Aruch, page 29 at the top, in the Rashi script. Rama, Haga.
Shouldn't walk barefoot.
Note. V'chaseh kol gufo, a person should cover his entire body. V'lo yelech yachef, and he should not walk barefoot.
Like all the time?
Then Maran continues, the big print. Rama just interjected here something. Comes back Maran, he says, Yivdok nekevav. A person should check his nekevav, literally mean his holes. A person should check if he has to go to the bathroom. A person should constantly be checking, do I need to go to the bathroom, do I not need to go to the bathroom? Never to hold back from going to the bathroom.
Can't do tefillah with
Right.
tefillin.
Haga, adds the Rama. Haga, you see this? Haga. V'yargil atzmo, a person should accustom himself. V'yargil atzmo, b'Rashi, ktav Rashi here. V'yargil atzmo, a person should accustom himself. Lifanot boker va'erev, to go to the bathroom morning and night. Shehu zrizut unkiyut. Because this is a good custom for zrizut. Zrizut is to be hurried, to be, there's a word for it, I'll tell you.
Alacrity.
There you go, that word.
Alacrity.
You don't know what it meant till you learned the word zrizut, and all of a sudden people use it. Yeah? And then unkiyut, and cleanliness. It's a proper character trait that a person should go to the bathroom. They shouldn't hold off going to the bathroom. They should have a time in their life they go to the bathroom.
Can you walk barefoot in the house? And you're not in your own house?
We're going to talk all about walking barefoot. Suffice to say, though, that Jews should not walk barefoot ever.
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 Is it like morning?
A number of reasons. We'll talk about them then. That's the last halakha we're going to do in this episode.
Socks, it's not barefoot.
If you have socks, it's not barefoot. If you're in slippers, it's not barefoot.
Shoes are running. It's not barefoot.
because of a too much floor.
Though in your house, it could be that there are those who permit such a thing. We're going to talk about it later. Meaning, is it walking barefoot, is it inherently bad? Or is it just you shouldn't walk barefoot in front of other people? That's not derech eretz. So we're going to discuss that at the end. Okay, in your house, someone who's mekil in their house and they walk barefoot, it's okay. It's okay. It depends where you live and what the style. We'll talk about it when we get to that section of halachot. So far we have a few things. It's forbidden to walk bekomas kufa, with a straight back, in arrogance. Lo yelech 4 amot begilui harosh. You're not supposed to walk 4 amot with your head uncovered. The Rama adds you should cover your body and you should not walk barefoot. Maran continues you should check if you need to go to the bathroom. And the Rama adds that a person should do this both in the morning and the nighttime. Aside from the first one, there seem to be a number of suggestions that are good for you to do in your life, that are practical, they make sense. And we're going to see the details of them now. Let's look at halakha tet in the halakha bara. Halakha tet. See kesher rochetz? Halakha tet, in the middle of the page. This is still left over from last time's halakha, but I kept it for now because I wanted to do it when we were studying about kippot. Kesher rochetz gufo, when a person washes his body, shower, bathing, whatever it is that he does. Rochetz yamin tchila. He first washes his right side. V'achar kach smol, and then his left side. So even when we shower, there's an order of priorities where we're always giving kavod, we're always giving respect to the right side. Uksherochetz kol gufo, and when a person washes his entire body, rochetz harosh tchila, you first wash your head. Why? It's the most important, as the poskim write, the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, mipnei shehu melech ha'evarim, because it is the king of all the other body parts. A person without a head is dead. Yeah, and therefore, we give most respect to our head. And the same is true when we get dressed. V'chen, and also, yilbash ha-kippah. He should wear his kippah, al rosho, on his head, kodem, before, sheilbash, that he wears Shaar malbushim, the rest of his clothing. So if you have a chance between right and left, choice between right and left, you first do the right and then the left. If you're choosing between your head and any other part of your body, what do you do first? Your head. And therefore, there's an order of priorities to which part of your body you give kavod first, and second, and third, and so on and so forth. Make sense? So here, we're not saying you cover your head with a kippah first because you don't want to walk without a kippah. Rather, why are you covering your head with a kippah? To give kavod, that I'm first dressing my head, and then I'm dressing the rest of my body. Yeah? Wonderful. I want to add that in my opinion, you wear the kippah first, so long as you have clothing on your body already. If you don't have clothing on your body already, get dressed, don't put the kippah on your head. It's more important, your head is not considered naked without a kippah. Your body is considered naked without a kippah, and therefore, in that order of priorities, we first follow halakha aleph, which says, get dressed underneath your sheets. If not underneath your sheets, okay, but at least do it before you put on your kippah, because that's also what seems to me to be the appropriate order of priorities.
Can I ask about showering?
Sure.
How does that relate to the halacha?
What do you mean?
Okay. When you shower, you're naked,
Right.
and you don't wear anything. So later on, it goes through a lot of halachos about how you're supposed to go to the bathroom and not cover yourself and everything, and not allow too much of your body to show. But when you're showering, you're taking a bath, you're totally naked.
One second, I just saw this answer here somewhere when I was... Oh. Let's go back to page 24. 24. The first halakha bura. Underneath Maran in the Shulchan Aruch, the first halakha bura. What do we write there? Someone have a translation for us?
What?
The first halakha bura. Thank you.
First half.
Yeah. On 24. We have a translation written? Okay, so let's do this together now.
Oh, and it's
Tell what it says.
permissible, even like at the beginning, to you're allowed to reveal skin that like reveal body parts.
So
that
first
people
halakha, we said
usually-
you're allowed to reveal parts of your body that other people
Unusual.
reveal, meaning your hands. When it says chasek kol gufo, you should cover your whole self. Doesn't mean you should cover your face also, right? There are parts of your body that everyone reveals, and that's normal.
For example,
And also, you're allowed to reveal yourself when you are in the shower, bathing, in a river, so on and so forth. When you're bathing, it says, "Ve'en tzarich lachmir." We don't. Ve'en lachmir b'zeh klal. It's not. A person should not be strict about this at all. At all. And therefore, that's answered the question. I mean, you're right. You're supposed to be clothed. The bathroom is going to be different than the shower. Again, we'll speak about this then. But for now, we don't expect a person to shower in their bathing suit with a wetsuit. Like, you have to shower. That's why you're showering, and not to be covered up. But have to shower. It is true that perhaps midat chasidut, the level of piety, would be how long are you hanging out in the shower for? Okay, do what you need to do and keep moving. But that's again a level of piety. There's no limit on how long you can shower in Judaism. Maybe your water bill will limit you, but aside from
it's also
that,
wasting water if you're just.
right? But if a person's enjoying it, then it's not wasting water.
How do you like that?
So if
About
you're,
Rabbi Ishmael, who didn't touch anything lower than his waist.
This is something else. Okay, but I'm listening.
The beam
So what he did in a shower. I mean, there was no shower at that time, but when he washed, didn't he touch anything lower than his waist?
So when it says he didn't ever lower his hand below his waist, commentators there explain dafka below his waist, but lower than that he touched. He put on his socks, he put on his shoes, just underneath his waist he didn't ever touch.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't wash.
With the water, not with his hands.
Splish splash.
So, but again, that Rabbi Ishmael
Not
was
healthy.
Rabbi Ishmael was performing a midat chasidut. It's an extra level of piety. Whenever you have a story in the Gemara, this rabbi didn't do X. If you had to do it, then it wouldn't have praised him for it. Meaning, you never find, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai kept kosher.
Everyone put
I
on
mean,
tefillin.
everyone has to keep kosher. What is this? You only praise somebody when they do something that's above what it is that normal people have to do.
The beams of her house never saw her hair.
Right? Eshet Kimchit, right? It's the lady who her whole life, the walls of her house never saw her hair. So again, the Gemara praises that because technically a lady is allowed to uncover her hair inside of her house, so long as it's just her family. But the praise is for a lady who decides to go the extra level and say, I don't want that anyone, even in my house, should see my hair. And that's allowed, but it's not required. Because if it was required, the Gemara wouldn't praise her for having such a level of piety. That makes sense? So, let's continue here on 29. Asur lalechet b'koma skufa in Yud. A person is not allowed to walk with a koma skufa, with a straight back. V'hainu, and this means shelo yagbia rosho, that he should not lift his head derech gava, in a way of haughtiness. V'hitnaseut, and hitnaseut is, it means to look down on others.
Yeah.
Arrogance, so that's a good word. Arrogance. It doesn't mean you have to walk bent over. Rather, what it means is that you should not lift your head in a way that is perceived by others to be gava, to be arrogant. I don't know that today I'm not saying this to be lenient. I'm saying this to complain about today. I don't know that today the things that people do actually mean anything. If someone walks a certain way, could be that just because that's how they taught him in kindergarten. That's how he walks this way. There used to be a time where the way he walked, the way he held his shoulders, the way he held his head, everything meant something about you. Today, people they speak things and they're not even thinking about what they're speaking. So, let alone the way they hold their head, I don't take people so seriously today. But definitely a person should make sure that the way they walk is not perceived as a way of arrogance, of gava. So for all the midot in the world, all the things to stay away from, gava. Gava is a terrible midah. It ruins families, it ruins lives, it ruins work, it ruins everything that exists. We should make it one of the mitzvot we tell people about. Yeah.
So what about status symbols? Like you're driving Maserati or wearing Rolex? It's a luxury stuff that is really status symbol, not a necessity.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו.
Maybe.
When I went to yeshiva, we weren't allowed to wear clothing that had brand names on the outside. And if you want to buy a shirt that's expensive, good for you. But if it has a crocodile on the shirt, or I don't know, whatever else, people, they like animals, so a little horse, or whatever it is that they like on their shirts. Or if, some shirts, they have a certain color pattern on the sleeve. Whatever it is that people wear, we weren't allowed to wear it. We weren't allowed to wear it. If we wear it, it would make us go back to our room and change our clothing.
Wow.
And the question is, why not? I mean, thank God I come from a family. We buy shirts with crocodiles on them. Whatever it is that we do. And the whole idea was that it cannot be part of your education as a ben Torah, as someone who's aspiring to be a student of Torah, that you dress in a way that is going to make someone else feel beneath you. You want to wear a better quality shirt? Good for you. No one's making you wear a not quality shirt. But the rest of us don't have to know what kind of shirt you're wearing. You'll find this halakha in Shulchan Aruch. You look in Hilchot Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, you're not allowed to wear any colors that are flashy, that attract attention. The reason being, the whole year we're Bale Gava. We wear this, we wear that. I want to poke this guy's eyes out. That one. Rosh Hashanah, it's not like dress simply. It could be that that's one of the reasons why Jews in many countries wore white on Rosh Hashanah and Kippurim. It was a time to kind of dress down. Even Ashkenazim, they wear a kittel. So the kittel is a death robe. I mean, they bury people in kittels. It's not what you're supposed to get dressed in. The whole idea is to lower the level of ego in the room. When I was getting married, so in many circles, they buy a talit with silver on the what do you call it? The keter, on the crown. You always everyone wants a talit with a silver keter. So I was looking into the halachot. Before you make any decision, you have to look at the halachot. And aside from the needless expense of silver and a talit, I don't know why.
And the problem cleaning it?
I was looking into the halachot, and I found that there were rabbis who didn't appreciate that there was a silver keter for different halachic reasons about the size of a talit and the sides. Okay, not for this discussion. Additionally, the question was, why are you putting silver on the talit? The reason you're allowed to have let's say a very fancy, give me an example, the best pair of tefillin you can buy, the most expensive one. The reason you do that is in order to fulfill the mitzvah of
Hidur mitzvah.
Hidur mitzvah. Ze eli vanvehu. This is my God, and I'll make him beautiful. I'll do things that are extra to make Hashem more beautiful. But when I wear silver on a talit, I'm not. If you have silver talit, it's okay. The poskim say it's allowed. I'm not saying it's not allowed. The reason for why I chose not to. If you're putting silver on the talit, does that make the talit any better of a mitzvah?
No.
No. What would make the talit a better mitzvah?
Like a finer quality.
Let's say you wear a cotton tzitzit, finally buy one that's wool. For Sephardim, I want to make this clear. For Sephardim, a talit, even a tzitzit, that's not made out of wool, is only receiving a rabbinic mitzvah for that tzitzit. It's only a rabbinic mitzvah. If a person wants to receive the mitzvah of tzitzit from the Torah, he has to wear wool tzitzit and a wool talit. It doesn't mean you shouldn't wear the other one. But if you want to make it better, so the step would be to go get one that's made out of wool. What else? Maybe some people have tzitziot that are made by machines. They get a handmade, so on and so forth. There are things to do. But when a person, if a person wants to add tchelet, the real tchelet to their tzitzit, that would obviously be a step up in keeping the mitzvah of tzitzit and talit. But to add silver, who are you making more beautiful? The talit or
You.
you? What is it all about? It's about ego. So why? Why should we do that? I saw the Or Yitzchak, the rabbi from Lakewood, Rabbi Yitzchak Abadi, and he writes that another reason. So you come to the Bet Knesset with silver in your talit. What does it make the other people around you feel like?
Lower.
Schmattes.
Yes, it's all. My talit is not as nice. They thought they had the nicest talit in Bet Knesset until you came in with silver. Soon, people are going to come with gold. It's going to be the next level. Yeah, and then
Diamond.
I know it's going to happen. Then they're going to become extra religious, and they don't want to poke people's eyes out with gold. They're only going to use white gold. That way, it doesn't look like. I know the way Am Yisrael works, right? What's going to happen? He says even if it's not why you're wearing, you want to wear it because you think it looks nicer for the talit, but someone else is going to be jealous of you. You're not going to feed another person not kosher, right? You're not going to make another person break an avirah, but you know that by doing this, you're going to cause another person to be jealous of you, and that's an avirah. So maybe that's where you should be strict. Be machmir on something that's not going to harm another person. But the problem with this, Moshe Chaim, I'll tell you, is I spoke about this in class in a different place. The people always say, so where do you draw the line? I have money. I wanted to drive a nice car. Why not?
Yeah, when they used to come on the Bikurim,
Yeah.
when they used to come to Beit HaMikdash, and all the people who used to come with Ferrari and gold watch, and bring all the fruit, they used to leave the gold and this to Beit HaMikdash, while the Kohanim, to the poor guys, they used to give the סלסלות, הסלסלות והעשירים לא היו מקבלים אותם בחזרה.
נכון.
היו נשארים עם הכהנים, היו נשארים עם הזהב ועם כל הסלסלות וכל
It's a
הדברים.
Musar Haskell. There's something to listen to. When you used to bring your first fruits, thank you. You used to bring your first fruits to the Beit HaMikdash. So the wealthy people would bring a special mitzvah. They bring gold baskets and all kinds of nice things. When they would give the basket to the Kohen, they would keep it and go home. When the poor person would come with a simple straw basket, they would take the fruits and give him back his basket. You know, today, if the guy was driving to the Beit Knesset, oh, we'll leave the Ferrari for the rabbi. I have a different opinion about it, right? But so long as it's not what's happening, so we're going to have to figure out whether or not we allow such
That's
a
what
thing.
should happen, so they won't come, they won't show up so much.
Moshe Chaim, that's a good question, because there is no line you can draw in the sand and say, this is forbidden, you can drive this kind of car, but not that kind of car. The only place you can do such a thing is if you have a community that accepts such a thing. There are communities, especially in the Hasidic circles, where they saw there's a big problem. I just read today an article. Weddings. You know, weddings, what it's like in the Jewish community. So in San Diego, even if you want to make a wedding for the most simple wedding in the world, you're going to come out broke, because to make a kosher anything here is expensive. Not because of the food. You have to rent a hall. Here, a hall starts $50,000. You're talking about a lot of money. Rent the plates. You have to rent the tables in the church. In New York, you can walk into wedding halls. You can walk, it doesn't mean it's going to look like your fantasy wedding, but you can walk into a wedding hall and say, here's $10,000 and do a wedding. Do a wedding from A to Z. Food, wait, everything's included. Everything's included. You have halls there, $15,000, $25,000, so on and so forth. I even saw a hall for $6,000 a wedding, but it looks more like a bar mitzvah, you know. But it was, you can do it if you want to. The problem in many places, whenever you have someone who's going to do something extravagant, other people want to outdo you. You see this by bar mitzvahs here in San Diego. I remember growing up. I don't know if it's like that today still. I was doing bar mitzvah, so the next guy always wants to do a better bar mitzvah than the first guy. Then by the time the last guy has to do his bar mitzvah, his parents are already taking loans out from their retirement fund to make sure the kid can have a bar mitzvah.
Okay.
I remember my bar mitzvah, there was an old man here. You remember Sam Greenberg? Anyone remember him?
Yeah, his name was on the
On the bima downstairs. He was an older man. He used to have a TV show with Rabbi Leader.
Really?
I don't know if you know these days, the olden days of Chabad University City. You remember him? Sam Greenberg? Yeah, you do. You just don't know that you remember him. So he lived down here in the houses, right, in the apartments down
He's
here.
a nuclear engineer, right?
I have no idea what he was.
He's
But
the Lisbon's old neighbor they talked about.
he was from the shtetl.
The shtetl.
And he told me once, your bar mitzvah is crazy. I said, you know what my bar mitzvah looked like? We had some kichel, we had some herring. They looked at me, they said, L'chaim, mazel tov, get out of here, you're done, right? That was his bar mitzvah. He said, presents, meals, guests, he said, we don't even know what this look like. Right? But as time
Tense,
goes on,
yeah.
we do things that are extravagant. And therefore, the rabbis in certain communities have created what's called takanot, rules, decrees, establishments. And I saw different communities have different, for example, you're in a Chassidut, you're Satmar, you're Belz, you're Lubavitch, you're something. You have a group of people, they all try to follow one central authority. There are rebbes that made rules. I know a community where you're not allowed to have more than a one-piece band. You want to have music? Good. Get a DJ, or get a guy who's really good at his keyboard. But you can't bring an orchestra to your wedding anymore. There are people who do such things. Because then the next family is going to feel that they have to do the same thing. When I was looking at the wedding halls for my wedding, there was a hall in Muncie, a Satmar wedding hall. I'll give it to their credit for the Satmars. I don't know why I was thinking of getting married there, but it had a nice hall. You're not even allowed to bring music there. What the Rebbe decreed there was the following. They had one wedding, and the Rebbe, they brought a Philharmonic orchestra. And they played all the wedding songs, for the chuppah, for the tish, for the this, for the that, for the walking down the aisle, everything, and they recorded it in the highest quality recording possible. That was the first and last wedding that had a band in this wedding hall. Every other wedding has the recording, highest level recording. Comes time for the chuppah, they press play. Chuppah music. Comes time for the first dance, press play. You go to the wedding the next night, you already know what they're going to sing. So you're already part of this. But the idea was that someone should come to this wedding hall and not feel that they have to spend a fortune on making a wedding. Flowers. I saw Chassidut, you're not allowed to spend more than X on a centerpiece, per plate, so on and so forth. Today the Satmar Rebbe stood up and he said, a shtreimel can't cost more than $2,500. For me, that's really expensive for a hat, but I guess they said shtreimels can go for $6,000 or $7,000, easy. So what the Rebbe did was he sat with some shtreimel purchasers from his community, and he said, I expect you to either lower the prices, or to go look for a shtreimel that will fit into this category.
This budget.
You know who else did this? The Ger Rebbe in Israel.
Go to Las Vegas.
Go to Las Vegas. It's the cheapest way to get married. The Ger Rebbe,
Shenzhen.
the Admor Migul, he realized about, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 40 years ago, 30 years ago, his Chassidim were spending too much money on their shtreimels when they got married. Today they should do the same thing with sheitels. Yeah, sheitels cost a fortune. They should just say, guys, keep halachot, cover your head with a real head covering, not a fake one. Yeah, but okay, we'll get there, B'ezrat Hashem. But came for the shtreimels, and the Rebbe said, you can't spend so much money on shtreimels. And he put a limit as to how much money you're allowed to spend on a shtreimel, until he decreed, you can't even buy cheap shtreimels. You have to buy the shtreimel, it's called a spudik. A spudik, if you look like it looks like one of those old school Russian hats. It sits on your head. It's tall. It doesn't have such a nice shape like a shtreimel. You can only buy spudiks. What's the problem?
Ralph Cook's hat? It's like Ralph
At least similar, yeah, similar. They looked at the Rebbe. The Rebbe has a nice shtreimel. So the Rebbe said, I'm not wearing a shtreimel anymore. Until this day, they wear artificial shtreimels or spudiks in Ger. The Rebbe refuses to wear one that his Hasidim can't afford. There are certain takanot a person should put into play. So if you had a community, and I would tell you, let's make a community, let's make rules, instead of spending $50,000 on a wedding, my wife told me of a different community. One of the Hasidic communities, they have a rule. You're allowed to spend as much money as you want on a wedding, so long as you match the price to make a wedding for someone else. And if you're making a $50,000 wedding, you are really making a $100,000 wedding. Because the Rebbe expects from you to pay another $50,000 to marry off another couple in the same year. And that's what they do. They make a wedding, and they give the same amount that they spent on the wedding to tzedakah. So they end up making cheaper weddings, but they pay for two of them. And that's the way that they keep the community in balance. Now you may feel that these are juvenile, that what are you making rules for me, I have money. Again, everyone is going to feel this way. But there are places you can put a line in the sand. What kind of car you drive, what kind of clothing you wear. I don't know that you can't drive a certain car if you have the money, but you should think about it twice before you buy it. We're not going to finish this halakha. I want to give you a few minutes to learn. My Rabbi Tendler from Baltimore. I suggest if you have $30 extra, go online, go to artscroll.com or amazon.com, order this book. It's a must-read for any Jew in planet Earth. The book is called, I'll tell you, I already forgot the name of the book. I Am Your Servant. I Am Your Servant. Or you can put into ArtScroll, Rabbi Yosef Tendler. Tendler. English. Ani Avdecha, it's called. What?
Is there a Rav Shalom Tendler? Like brothers?
He's Rav Shalom Teller's older brother. So Itai, God willing, is going to yeshiva next year by his brother. Rabbi Tenler, Alav Shalom, he passed away about 2 years ago. He was my Rebbe in high school. He was the Rosh Yeshiva in Baltimore for the high school. He was a very wealthy man. A very wealthy man. He started off the first Chalav Yisrael milk company in the United States. Eli, have you ever seen Pride of the Farm milk? Pride of the Farm? Chalav Yisrael. He owned Pride of the Farm. In Baltimore. Yep, that's him. That was my rabbi.
I know the guy.
Okay. So Pride of the Farm. What?
I thought only Chabad keeps Chalav
No, they didn't make up the Torah.
Right, so
So they had a Chalav Yisrael milk, and I'll tell you, Rabbi Teller didn't keep Chalav Yisrael. But it was an interesting business venture. He saw that people needed it, and he in the olden days, he was in Lakewood, and he would ride out on a horse and buggy into the countryside and find some cows, and they would milk them and bring the milk back for the people who come. It became a multi-million-dollar operation. Rabbi Teller lived his whole life in a 2-bedroom apartment. And the yeshiva has about 100 families living on campus, and there are houses, there are condos, like townhouses, and there are apartments. And he was the Rosh Yeshiva, so they kept trying to move him into a nicer house. And he refused to go. He said, I don't have so many children. He said, there are families that have more children, so they should have a bigger house. Why do I need a big house? I need an apartment. You come to his apartment, the same table he got probably since he was married. The carpet never was changed. The things in his house, his car, I'll tell you about his car in a second. Where did he put all his money? He has sons that are Talmidei Chachamim, Torah scholars. He told children, if you become Torah scholars, I will support you entirely. Entirely. That's what he did with all his money. He supported his children, his grandchildren, anyone who became a Torah scholar. That's what he did with his money. So I don't need it for myself. Hashem gave me money. I can live like everybody else. And for everyone else, my children, I'll support them. So he used to drive this car. You might know what I'm talking about. It's a Crown Victoria. It looks like a boat. You know what I'm talking about? It looks big. It looks like a police car. It probably was a police car once upon a time. Still around. Whenever I saw this car, I felt like it was a police car. Because if you're walking down the wrong street and this car drives by you and it's the Rosh Yeshiva and you're in trouble, right? So that was the... Sometimes he would stop his car on the side of the street. Tuck your shirt in. What, Yeshiva guys don't walk with their shirts untucked. Or he would say, what are you eating in the street? You're a bento eye. You shouldn't be eating, so on and so forth. Rabbi Teller once bought a new car. And after a few days, he gave it back. Because he felt that he shouldn't drive a new car. It made him feel too egotistical, too arrogant. And he went and he bought a used car. And for my whole life that I knew him, he only drove used cars. Second hand, third hand, doesn't make a difference. That's what he wanted to drive. He didn't want to feel that he's better than anybody else. Even though he had the money and he could have lived that way, he didn't live that way. Do you have to live that way? If Hashem gives you, does that mean you can't use it? It doesn't mean you can't use it. But it means that it's a priority in our life to not be arrogant. And so B'ezrat Hashem should give us a lot of understanding, ability to figure out how to do it. We'll continue this halakha tomorrow night. B'ezrat Hashem. We'll continue this halakha tomorrow evening at 8:30.